Today I'm going to talk about success with social coupon advertising, and with the little subtitle of how we sold $100,000 on social coupons and what we learned in the process. So before I say anything else, I need to make this very clear. Your results will vary. Back in the days when I was really active on forums, even before there was social media, and we just went to one site to talk about our one topic, we used to say, YMMV, your mileage may vary. And that's very important here because when we talk about promoting for a business, we're talking about each one of us having our own different kind of business, our own different kinds of products, and our own marketplaces. So your mileage will vary. I'm going to try and envision my business working, or my experience working in other types of businesses as I talk. So hopefully you'll gain value even though you don't sell what I sell. So what's a social coupon? That's generally the term that's used to apply to the sites like Groupon, Living Social, and Amazon Local, which is actually my favorite, Amazon Local. There's some others, Gannett, which is the publisher for the Arizona Republic and also 12 News, owner of 12 News. They own a product called Deal Chicken. I didn't use them, but I know that they exist. And there's a couple others. We stuck with the top 3 this summer when we did our product. So what makes a social coupon offer? Basically, it's a deeply discounted product, usually 40 to 60%. Some of them are up to 90 or 100% off. 90, closer to 100% even. And in most cases, when you talk to the advertisers, they're going to start you at 50% off. They're going to almost say, we require you to offer something at 50% off. It's usually service-based products, and most people got their first experience on Groupon or Living Social buying for a restaurant. In fact, early in the days of these sites, it was all about the restaurant experience. It was all about finding new restaurants at a discount. And these sites, especially Living Social, advertise themselves as an opportunity to explore your city. So they're going to be looking for products to offer on the site that maybe people aren't going to run into. You're not going to see a restaurant like Chili's or Red Robin advertising on a social coupon site, because that's not even who they're going after. They're going after those small shops where people can explore and get connected with their city. And that's also their selling point for their high fees. So here's a screen capture from Amazon Local this morning. I know that it's sometimes hard to see this screen, but I'll just tell you a couple. Got $20 to spend at Swirl Self-Serve Froyo, $10, so 50% off. Here's a weight loss clinic, 90% off. Manicure and pedicure, 51% off. And then 1 to 2 hour massage for $25, and that's 62% off. So those are some of the things that are your offer. Like I said, 2 of those or 3 of those 4 are service-based products, and I think that's going to be really important as you consider the possibilities of doing social couponing, because service-based products have inherently a lower cost of operation, and that's going to come into play. So let's look at what we did this summer. So if you don't know my company is Bonanza Educational. I co-own it with my brother over there, and Josh sits back there in the corner with us and works with us. We have about 20 employees, and we run out-of-school education programming. So being that school was out this summer, our out-of-school programming was generally summer camps. And full-day summer camps, kids come at 8 o'clock, leave at 2 o'clock, and parents love it because it's a little bit of learning for their kids, but it's also getting them out of the house so the parents have a week off. Our programs generally up before we started using social couponing came in at around $200. The reason why we wanted to offer this week-long program for $200 is because we work in partnership with school districts, and school districts need to offer programming that their families can afford. We're not some boutique summer camp that can ask for $1,000 for a week. We were trying to actually hit a budget market. So when we came into social couponing, that was one of our immediate challenges. But look up in the top corner, our price is $159, and it's actually $200 for most of the options. And that says it's 50% off. So I just wanted to point that out because that's going to be part of the story as we go on. But as you can see, this one's from Amazon Local. This photo is actually ours. The copy was written by Amazon Local. And then something that you'll find on all these, but might not make it into the pictures, these what you need to know in policies. They give you a lot of control over writing those. So that's Amazon Local. And this one would be Living Social. Living Social provided us a gigantic library of stock photography to use, but they would not use our own photo. So luckily I found this kid playing with some spaceship, and it looked enough like what we were going to do at camp, so all right. And I'm sorry, that's Groupon. And then this one's Living Social. And so a lot of similarities. Living Social is very big about the social aspects. So you see the Facebook tweet and email shares are really big and bold, even though nobody clicked on them on our deal. So what happened? We sold 244 units on social couponing sites, which represent about 40% of our total units sold. And if you do the math, there was right around $96,000 in value. That's how we sold $100,000 on social couponing. But wait, it's $96,000 at this MSRP price. Remember, we have to discount that by 50%. And then we have to pay this advertising cost to these services. So that was $18,000, and we were left with 30. So we still did really good. That's a lot of money to make that from a customer you've never met before, using this basic system. And there's some great reasons to it, but you'll notice that $18,000 in marketing fees, that's a pretty hefty fee. And it came out to be 38% on average. So I'll tell you how I get to that average in a little bit. But still, 244 units, 244 new customers that we would not have reached without this service, that we didn't have on our mailing list, our email list, that we didn't have, that we were able to contact through our school district representatives. There was some places where a customer could have qualified to buy through the school district at the school district price and whatnot. But for the most part, they came in here. What isn't in that number, though, are all of the customers who bought their one coupon on Living Social or Groupon or wherever, and then came to us and bought 2 more. What's not counted in here are the customers who purchased add-ons as well. It's not as great as they would like you to think, though. So let's talk about the benefits. And one is this massive, massive audience. And I want to say it's a massive, active audience. How many of you guys have ever seen an ad in a newspaper? We all have. How about on Facebook? If your attention is not drawn to that ad immediately, you're going to pass right by. You're not on Facebook to see the ads, even though Facebook would love to think that you are. You're not reading the newspaper to look at ads. You're reading the newspaper to read the news. You're watching TV, not for the ads, but for the episode that you're watching. In a lot of cases, advertising is a very passive activity, and you're relying on making an impression upon your customer or your potential customer with, your bold headlines and your pictures. Whereas with Amazon Local or any of the social coupon sites, you have an active customer. And it's not just an active customer, but there's tons and tons of them. So Groupon, we had 64,000 impressions on Groupon of people who are actively looking to spend money at that moment in time. Living Social, 55,000. And then Amazon Local, approximately 100,000. Amazon does not give the specific details like the other 2 sites do, but Amazon told me in our deal preparation that they were very proud that their mailing list exceeded 100,000 this year. So very, very good impression, 215,000 impressions. So right now I'm running an ad on Facebook right now, asking people to like our page. And it's costing around $1 per like is what it's costing right now to get people to like our Facebook page. 215,000 impressions, 215,000 likes on my Facebook page at $1 a like would be about $200,000. And all we paid was $18,000 to get all of this. So benefit number 2, it's super easy to do. My friends love this emoji, so I thought, hey, this would be a good image to represent this. It's super easy to do. In fact, to set up your entire offer, around 4 to 6 hours. My brother and I worked for almost 10 hours combined between the artwork, the strategy and whatnot, to put together one print ad earlier this spring. It took us a long time, lots of energy, lots of time developing the artwork and whatnot to put together this print ad that we then paid somebody $600 to print each time for 4 times in 4 issues of a magazine. And we got 215,000 active impressions on less than 20 hours worth of work through these. And I say each took about 4 to 6 hours. The reason why we came in under 20-ish hours is because one of them was a carbon copy repeat. On Living Social, they have the shortest period, so they just repeated it for us. So we actually did twice on Living Social this summer. Benefit number 3, there's this feeling of partnership and teamwork. Now, almost every B2B company, business-to-business company that you work with is going to give you this impression that you're a team with them. But I really felt it with Living Social and with Groupon and Amazon because A, they're very upfront with you at the beginning. Your sales make them money. If you don't sell, they don't make money. And so they are very driven to get those sales for you. They are always emailing you. It's like the day my deal went live, I got an email. A few days into my deal, hey, we're liking the results. Anything else we can do? Do you have any questions? Got a phone call a week later. Have you had any customers redeem yet? Do you have any problems with redemption? It was always communicating with us. I mean, once a week, all summer long, all 3 of them were communicating with us. They're very driven to your success, and that's one thing that I really liked. And they're always referring to you in some sort of way as a partner or a teammate. You're not their customer. Their customers are your customers, is how they see it. So that was a good feeling. That felt like I was set up for success all summer. And as you can see by our results, we were. We were successful. And then this is the best benefit, but it's also potentially one of the greatest curses when I start talking about the downsides. And that is benefit number 4, new customers. So keeping up my emoji theme, I got this wonderful multicultural family here joining us for summer camp. In a couple of our markets this summer, they were expansion markets. We've been growing slowly from the East Valley to the rest of the valley, and so some of our sites we really needed new customers for. And you get that. You get that audience that you didn't have, that you haven't been slowly building over time. And so depending on your offer, you're also gaining an impulsive customer. So the one that's going to be more likely to walk in your door and buy that add-on product you have on your welcome table. Or, hey, join us again in a couple weeks. And so that's a benefit too. Because remember, these customers are that active customer. And if you're going on a site knowing that you have to buy a deal basically by the end of the week, you're going to be a little bit impulsive. One thing to note about our offer, at $159 and $195, we were definitely on the upper end of what you can purchase on Amazon Local or otherwise social couponing. So that meant that our customer was slightly different than the one who's just going to say, hey, $11 gets me a $22 gift card at Tom's Barbecue. And so we still have that impulsive customer, but the lower the deal is, the more impulsive that customer will be as well, and the more driven by future offers. So let's talk about the bad things. The worst one is my first one. They do not offer you any access to your customer. No way to get a hold of them at all. So I still have a couple customers who just never showed up to camp, and their promotional value expired. But I had no way to call them and say, hey, I need you to register. Hey, do you know where you're supposed to be going? And this, I imagine, is worse if you're running a restaurant where you want to get these customers that you've now spent all this money, around 75% of what you're what they're coming in and spending, you're giving up to the discount and the promotion site, you want that customer information. You want to find a way to get them on the mailing list, get them to your Facebook page, get them on your Twitter so that you have further opportunities to market to them. They should be your customer now. And partially because the coupon sites need to protect their customers, but partially because it's your job after that. You don't have access to that information. That is one of the greatest drawbacks, and you have to be aware with that when you move forward. The fees are very, very high, and I told you it's around 38%, and they're taken after the discount is applied. So if you have $100 off, if you have a $100 thing that you sell, and you're giving it for 50% off, you're now giving 38% of that, 50% of that away, and you're left with $25. So as we get into horror stories, you're going to begin to understand why some of these horror stories do apply. The next problem is traffic comes in spurts. So for us, around a quarter to 1/3 of our customers immediately redeemed their purchase within a day or so after buying it. That means they went to our website, they registered their child for the camp, they were able to get the email reminders and things like that. Another third redeemed in the last 2 or 3 days before camp. These are the people that didn't get to see our professional communication ahead of time. Didn't get to see us saying, hey, don't let your kids bring other Lego to camp. Hey, here's what you should be packing for lunch, et cetera, et cetera. And then you have the people fall in between. Imagine if you have a restaurant. You have a 60-day redemption period. You open up your deal and you are killed for the first week after the redemption. You have no business for 3 or 4 or 5 weeks. And then the last week where the value applies, you're killed again. And that adds extra stress to your company. That probably means that you don't have enough product on hand. People are annoyed because they're waiting in line. So you have to be aware that there's a traffic comes in spurts, and that is a drawback. And you can't control that. That's people, unfortunately. I remember when I was still working at In-N-Out Burger, we had these coupons. And I was the unfortunate guy to be working the day that the coupon expired. And we sold twice as much as I was expecting that night. I was so upset. And it wasn't anything my manager could have controlled, but it was still like the night from hell. And I'm sure it's the same for people running a social coupon deal. Another drawback is you might attract the wrong kind of customer. And I see it all the time on these coupon sites, massages being offered. Not saying that massages aren't necessarily good for people in a lower income bracket, but that's not generally the market that these people are going towards. You want to be attracting a customer that's going to be willing to pay $80 for a massage once a month, not one time $35. And so if you're attracting the wrong kind of customer that's not going to be savvy to the product that you're regularly offering at a full price, that could really work against you. And all this money that you're giving up to attract this customer for a customer that's never going to return, that's definitely a potential drawback. And then the last potential drawback is that your money is not available immediately. Where I come into your coffee shop and I buy a coffee and I pay you $5, that money is yours now. And you can immediately use it to go buy more coffee, go buy more cups, to pay that staff member to mop the floor for you. With the social couponing sites, you receive the money in blocks, usually after your deal ends and then after your redemption period ends. And I'll tell you that schedule in just a sec. So there is a whole slew of horror stories about social couponing sites. And in fact, these horror stories have dealt them all a very big blow, too. One of the most famous ones is about a coffee shop in Denver, but there are many. This one I picked from Mail Online, which is a great source of news if you care about what's going on in the UK, but cleaned out after gambling on Groupon. I don't feel like what I did was a gamble, but that's because I took my time, and that's what I'd encourage you to do as well. But there are many Groupon horror stories, and it would be so cliche to give you a screen capture of the Google results, but just Groupon horror stories, Google, you're going to see so many so many people complain about the experience. And in a lot of what you read, and this is what I did last year when I first encountered doing social couponing, is if you read between the lines, you'll see a lot of things that they did wrong, that their naivety caused. Does that make sense? So I'm trying to empower you to prepare yourself for some of those drawbacks so that some of the horror stories don't come true for you. So let's talk a little bit about the bad customers. These are the most common things on the horror stories. Being that restaurants, especially before the last couple of years, were the big benefactor of social couponing, you had a lot of people that would buy a social coupon, $20 for, or $20 for 10, and they would go into a restaurant with this coupon that says they're due to redeem $20. I mean, I've gone into restaurants with coupons before. I give it to the server. Hey, I got a free entree. And then my check comes, and I only owe them $11 because I got one free entree. I'm a decent person. I know that that check should have been $22, and so I tip on $22. But remember that the Groupon customer is going to be a person who's looking for a deal. And what happens a lot in the horror stories is that the servers totally miss out. These people come in and they spend as close to $20 as they can, and then they get this check for $1.20, and their servers get a tip of 20 cents. And this happens. The customers, we run a pretty good program. I feel confident about that. We're very dedicated to running a good customer service program. I'm not saying that we're perfect, and I'm not saying that we didn't make a few mistakes this summer that deserved customers to complain. But the ones that were really nitpicky, like looking for things that we did wrong, were always our social couponing customers. And it's like you have to take a deep breath. They were looking for an opportunity to possibly get a refund or get some money back, or just tell them that they were dissatisfied with our service. And I have a very small sample size, around 500 customers. I can think of really like 3 or 4 really loud complainers, and they were all social couponers. Does that mean that every person who's capable of complaining would be from social couponing? No, but that was just our experience this summer with our small sample. Expand your offer to thousands of potential buyers. Will that continue? Could you expect that? Perhaps. And then go into a situation like a restaurant where mistakes are a little bit easier to make because we're all humans. And I worked in the restaurant industry for 7 years. And then you're going to see those nitpickers potentially. So bad customers were real for us, and I think on most horror stories they're real. So some other big concerns. High costs are barely covered. So like I said, going back to the experience of $100 product that you discount to 50%, that you then pay a 50% fee on, and you have $25 left. In a lot of cases in the restaurant industry, 30% of your cost is food, right? So what happens when you're not even covering your cost of food with your social coupon? That's rough. You as the owner are giving up all the money you have to pay the rent, to keep the lights on, to pay your staff's salary, what portion of it you are supposed to. And then you're also eating into that hard cost of food, that hard variable cost of food. That's a concern that you should address. And that's a concern that we addressed when we actually raised our MSRP in order to do social couponing. The no access to customer information I already mentioned, the waiting for payment I already mentioned, and then redemption is another one. So you get this coupon with this long 10-digit hex code, and you have to find a way to redeem it. For us, it was really easy because they used their coupon on an online redemption system. The services gave us the codes ahead of time. We were able to upload them to our system as coupon codes. It was easy for us. But if you have a service such as that massage parlor or that barber shop, and you're receiving this piece of paper, you now have a whole bunch of time that is dedicated to accounting, where you're searching for your client and you're actually redeeming that. And then they give you this option of how much did they spend above and beyond, and if you want to use those tracking tools, that's more accounting time for you. So let's talk about getting paid. My favorite for getting paid was Amazon. They seemed to And really where this is the way these people pay, I would boil down to how much do they trust you. Amazon trusts you 90%. So that means that every 2 weeks that your deal is running, you get 90% of what you are owed. So you receive your $25 coupon, you're getting 90% of that, you're getting 22 something dollars. And then that 10% is held until after expiration. What that 10% is it's a reserve for refunds, cancellations, and complaints. So they're holding that reserve. So say they have 180 days to redeem their coupon, you're waiting until that redemption period is over to receive that last 10%. So plan on that. Groupon trusts you 80%. They pay you in 3 parts. First is 80% immediately, and that is what you get once your initial feature is over. Your feature is usually around a week. So you get 80% of the revenue from all the people who bought during your feature. Now, Groupon says there are some of our people who would like to, have a little more time to pick. So instead of your 4-day feature, they take their select customers and extend the offer for a few more weeks. For us, we actually extended it until the last few days before each camp started. So for those, you're going to receive 80% after the deal is done being sold. And then finally, they reserve 20% or twice of how much you've given in refunds up to that point until after the redemption period is over. So whichever is greater, 20% or half of or 2 times your refunds up to that point. And then Living Social trusts you the least. They only give you 60% immediately, which would be the first payday after your deal ends, and then 40% after 90 days. So cash flow again. So these customers could start coming in the day they purchase, but you might not see a penny from your offer for a week or more, and then hypothetically they all redeem right away. You're not going to be paid on that last bit for a long time. We're one of those situations where we essentially everybody redeems by 1 point, with the exception of those 4 who never showed up. Everybody redeemed by a certain point. So we're still waiting on money for customers who have redeemed and taken advantage of the services that they paid for. And we've got another couple weeks left to get money still. So, and that is an accounting nightmare too, by the way, because keep figuring out for sure that, they know they're right, but their reports are hard to read. So let's talk a little bit about other advertising versus social couponing. Now, how many of you guys have been around Gangplank for, say, more than about a year and a half? Those of you who were here for more than a year and a half ago will know that there was a firm here called Ver, and their job was pay-per-click advertising. And not just doing pay-per-click advertising, see on Google or Facebook, but optimizing it. And so I had a quick chat with them. I said, how much should these industries expect to pay? If you have a service, a subscription-based service, they say they look to give up about 6 to 8 months of pay in advertising. So they look to say it's $125 a year. They're expecting to advertise over $100 to get that one customer. If it's an e-commerce site, they say that their target is around 15% usually, 15% of revenue in advertising. And then if it's more of like a one-time service online thing, they said it varies, but around 40% makes sense, 20 to 40% makes sense. It's totally dependent on the industry. So when I talk about 40% from Amazon or them, it can be about right. Also, if you think about a subscription type service like personal training where you're looking to keep a client beyond an initial introductory period of say 3 classes and you're looking to keep them into 12 or 15 classes, that's where you can take that subscription-based model and say, are you willing to give up your first month in the hopes of turning them into 4 months more at full pay? Traditional advertising is very passive. I already mentioned that. Web, print, magazine, etc. You are paying up front, and that's a scary thing. We advertised with New Times this summer. We paid up front. As far as we're aware, we didn't get a single customer out of that upfront payment. We advertised with Arizona Parenting Magazine this spring. We know we got traffic from Arizona Parenting Magazine. I think that customer that reads Arizona Parenting Magazine is using it to look for summer camp opportunities, so it's slightly more of an active audience than, say, New Times. But did we get the $2,400 value out of it, dollar for dollar? I think as a percentage, we probably still paid 60 to 70% for each customer that we got out of that. With traditional media, you can offer coupons, but you can also advertise to people's emotions, which is something that you're not really doing on the social couponing sites, except that emotion of, hey, I'm getting a deal. So you don't have that same level of control. You don't have to give up so much at the beginning with traditional advertising if you're really appealing to that emotional value. And on the social couponing, you're limited to just the web. So you're missing out on a lot of people that potentially might not be web users. If your industry if your customers are not web savvy, perhaps this is not the right media for you. But you are getting that engaged audience. You are getting them paying their fee only upon their purchase. So you might pay this fixed 40% fee but you're only paying it when you know you have an acquisition. So it's not like with my advertising on the newspaper, on the Arizona Parenting, where if I had gotten one more customer, my cost per acquisition would have gone down to 50%. Or if I had gotten one less customer, my cost per acquisition would have been up there at 100%. So I have that control. But you're only able to offer that deal, and you're typically driven by that deal-seeking decision maker. So, some tips. Tip number 1, control your price. This is one thing that we learned. If we can't afford advertising, our price isn't right. When we started our company, we were very driven at offering the best possible value to the families that we're advertising to. But we had almost no cost of advertising. I mean, you guys see us printing a couple 100,000 copies every month to pass out flyers at the kids, but that's a relatively low cost. We're talking $40, $50 to blanket flyer an entire school, and we only need 20 of these kids out of 2,000 at a school to make us plenty of money to be able to afford to run the program. So when we were first approached, they said, well, you have this program for $200. We'll offer it to our people at half off, and then we're going to take a 40% fee. And we're like, we're going to be left with $50? That's not enough money. But what we were able to look at is we were able to identify that, hey, what we're really doing is we're offering a discounted program to students of a school district. And we can continue to do that. And then we identified what a fair price would be for what we were offering. We raised our prices to that point. And then we told the school district that students of your school district receive this discount of $200. And then we have this new MSRP of $400 that we can then pay for advertising to non-school district families too. And that's where we had that wiggle room to now afford advertising on things like social coupon sites. If you're a restaurant owner or you know somebody in a restaurant, I'm going to show you an ad that you should be doing, creating a package. That way you can only offer that package at a discount. I've gone to I think that going to like a buffet in Vegas is so silly because they just give you this cheap food, but as much of it as you want. And it's not just cheap food, it's filling food. Lots of gravy, lots of bread, lots of pasta. This stuff is cheap. You can buy it for 90 cents on the dollar at Winco. 90 cents a pound, at Winco. And that's primarily what it is. They say, oh, we got that crab, we got that steak over there, but that's not what they're filling you up with. They're filling you up with all this good-looking macaroni and cheese and bread rolls and stuff. You can do the same thing at a restaurant. One of my friends owned a steakhouse in Northern California for a while, and he said, please don't let there ever be an improperly cooked steak, but I'll sell 10 salads on the day and pay for one improperly cooked steak. And the thing is you have certain things that you can make more money on. And so you can set packages. Another example, one day after working in a long day at In-N-Out Burger, where I worked for 7 years, My back was killing me, and I thought, hey, maybe I should go get a massage. And there's this parlor down the street, and they offered a $40 new member special. Okay, walked in, and they're like, what do you want? I'm like, I need you to focus on my back. That's where I hurt. I get out there, and they try and charge me $80. Well, why? Oh, well, our special's for a Swedish massage, not a back massage. Awesome. They knew that their package for a 40-minute Swedish massage could be sold at $40, but a 30-minute back massage was $80. And because they were creating a package solely for the purpose of promotion. And then set up the rules in your offer to cover your butt. And I would say this specifically regarding tips for your employees. You can create rules in your offer. So let's look at this offer that I saw today. So, meal for two at Palm Beach Middle Eastern restaurant. And basically it says, pick an appetizer, pick a main course, pick a dessert. We're going to say it's $46, but we're going to sell it to you for $22. $22 for a dinner for two, that sounds like a pretty good deal. I'm willing to bet that the cost on these meals is relatively low for them. They're able to afford basically giving it away for $11. I don't know what this food is. I don't know if falafel, hummus is pretty cheap, baba ganoush is pretty cheap. I don't know if this food is inexpensive for them to create, but they're controlling the package. So their Amazon local customer does not have full access to this menu. They're not able to buy those expensive things at a discount. They're only able to buy these perhaps inexpensive things at a discount. And so this is a good way to control your price, even if you are in a situation where you have a restaurant, by creating packages. And they sold 16, so I don't know if that's good or not. Tip number 2, negotiate the hell out of your salesperson. These people approach you, or you approach them, and they're salespeople. So negotiate with them. When I first spoke with the people at Amazon Local, they told me it's going to be a 55% fee. And I told them, well, then you can hang up the phone right now. I can't afford a 55% fee. I work with kids. I do education. We do this altruistic thing where we don't make money and we try and better kids' lives. I don't want to give you 55% of what little I already have. Half hour later, I had it down to 40%. Once I had it at 40%, I was able to use that against Groupon and Living Social, and Groupon actually undercut Amazon and went down to 35% fee for us. Some of the horror story blog posts that I read was that depending on the industry, they will start at 80% fee after that discount. So remember, they're sales agents. Negotiate with them. And tell them that you need to make money too. They understand that. They're going to start high, fight back low, do that haggling thing. They do believe in that partnership, but if you give up too early, you're going to feel steamrolled when really, like I said, a lot of these blog posts that I read from these Groupon horror stories, I could just list things that the people did wrong in the experience and not necessarily that Groupon salespeople did wrong. Tip number 3, set your policies to cover your ass. And this is one that we are really clear on. We did not want people showing up with the coupon, oh, register me for camp. That's not easy for us to do. We want to get their information ahead of time. We want to communicate to them what the rules are of camp. We want to communicate to them that we need their kids' contact information and we need them to sign a talent release form for the photos we were going to take. And if these people just walked into camp with the coupon, that was not easy for us. So we set a rule. You have to register 2 days before camp, and that was the expiration date for their voucher. So very, very few, say 3 or 4 all summer, actually came in having not registered. But where can you set policies that'll protect you? You have a restaurant. You can say there's going to be an 18% gratuity on the pre-promotional value. That way you can protect your servers. If you want, you can set a policy that says that they have to fill out a customer information form at, say, the massage parlor, so that you can get that information and then reach out to them and resell to them. If you don't set policies that protect you and make this valuable for you, it's not going to be valuable. So, these are a couple of ideas that I say, not redeemable during certain times. How many of us that would hypothetically own a restaurant want people coming in on Friday night and Saturday night? Why don't you tell them it's redeemable Monday through Thursday? Have I seen that on Groupon? Absolutely. But it's not going to happen automatically. You're going to have to set those. And this is where also you negotiate with your salesperson. Now, the silliest thing that I experienced this summer was every single one of the sites tried to convince me to promote the fact that we were running a deal. Hell no, I am not going to tell all my followers on social media that you can buy something for half off where I get only half of that. I'm going to tell all my followers on social media that they can buy a half off directly through me and I get to keep 100% of what's left. Don't promote the deal, but yet, does it happen? All the time. So don't be that guy. It's totally okay to offer a same or similar deal on your own, like we do through our school districts, that will allow you to keep more of your money. Another thing you can do in your terms to take a step back is to limit it. In a lot of cases, they automatically limit it to one gift and one purchase. But if it's something like, with our camps, what we say is, one offer per family, contact us for rates for siblings. And then what do? We just give them the same rate for the siblings, but they're paying 100% to us. So don't promote the deal. Let it run. Let it be that advertising opportunity for you outside of your normal customer base, and then promote to your own customers in your own way. And then this is something that we couldn't do just because we're running a program that parents needed to do a little bit of planning ahead for. We're also running a program that our customers, or that we wanted to run for a very long time. We ran our offer from April 10th all the way until July 15th. But remember how I told you how they pay? If you can control your offer and do short spurts, that's so much better. Smaller redemption periods, so you get that last little chunk at the end sooner. Shorter deal runs, so say only 4 or 5 days, so you get that first chunk really fast. These are all things that you could do, and depending on your business, if it fits, you should do. Yeah?
Why did you not run multiple offers when you built up that big time period?
That's a great question. And I think that with us, what we were relying on was not just a mom buying a summer camp for a kid. We were relying on the mom buying the summer camp for the kid and sharing with the kid's friends. And so there's a naturally longer delay that's caused by that. That said, with Living Social, remember how I said that I ran 2 identical Living Socials? The second Living Social that I ran was only for 1 week, and it was only for 1 camp. And the response for that particular run was actually stronger than the first Living Social that was a little bit out. So we're new to this still. Next summer, I already have plans to create different packages for different sites and also to create different spurts. But going back to the sales thing, I forgot to mention, in the horror stories, one of the things also that they really don't like, that they really complain about in horror stories, is that the salespeople tell you when they want to run your ad. And that's probably because you're not giving yourself enough lead time. And that's also probably because they really didn't negotiate hard about when they wanted it to run. The most popular horror story, the first one that went viral a few years ago, was of a person who said, my deal went live 3 days before the new downtown library opened. And as a coffee shop next to a library, she was naturally busy because of the library opening, but then lines out the door because she had all these new customers from Groupon. You can negotiate that. And so in the case of Living Social, when I ran that second spurt, I told them I want it the week before. And if you can't do it, you don't have me. It's just like buying a car. You get more power if you walk away. So if you tell a salesperson that this is a deal breaker, they're going to be more inclined to give a little for you. So I'm going to do some more experimentation next year and see if shorter spurts works. But the longer spurt was, the reason why we planned longer spurt was because of that share with a friend. So a couple final thoughts, and I'll take some questions. You definitely need to leverage social coupons as part of an offering. It's not going to be ever our exclusive advertising for a summer camp or anything else, but it definitely has power to grow that business, that segment of your business, if you do it right. So don't forget those other avenues, and by all means, take your time. Take your time by giving them lots of time to plan, so you get it scheduled at the right when you want it. Taking lots of time so that you can negotiate with the salespeople and make sure that you get what you need out of it. And take your time so that you and your staff, if you have staff working with you, are prepared to deal with things such as redemption and etc. So overall, like I said, your mileage may vary depending on your business, depending on what you have to offer, depending on your price points. But hopefully I was able to give you some tips that you aren't another horror story and that you can actually make it work for you despite the high fees and everything else that seems to be a little bit tougher about it. So.